principal guests were the Imperial Princess, Empress Dowager's adopted daughter, Princess Chung, wife of Emperor Kwangshu's brother, Princess Shun and Tao, wives of the Emperor's younger brothers, Princess Hong, wife of the nephew of the Imperial Princess, and Prince Qing's family. All these ladies were frequent visitors to the court. Next day, many other princesses, not of the Imperial family, but whose titles were honorary titles bestowed by previous rulers, came. Next, the daughters of the high Manchu officials and many other people whom I had never seen before. By midday, all the guests had arrived, and after being presented to Her Majesty, were taken to their different apartments and told to rest a while. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody assembled in the audience hall, lined up according to their different ranks, and, led by the young Empress, kowtowed to Her Majesty. This was the ceremony Zhu Shui already referred to, and was simply a last goodbye to Her Majesty before the New Year set in. When it was all over, Her Majesty gave each of us a small purse made of red satin, embroidered with gold, containing a sum of money. This is to enable each one to commence the new year with a kind of reserve fund for a rainy day, when they would have this money to fall back upon. It is an old Manchu custom, and is still kept up. The evening was spent in music and enjoyment, and was carried on right through the night, none of us going to bed. At Her Majesty's suggestion, we commenced gambling with dice, Her Majesty providing each of us with money, sometimes as much as $200. She told us to be serious about it, and to try to win, but of course we took good care not to win from Her Majesty. When Her Majesty began to tire, she stopped the game and said: "Now, all this money I have won I am going to throw on the floor, and you girls can scramble for it." We knew that she wanted to see some fun, so we fought for it as hard as we could. At midnight the eunuchs brought into the room a large brass brazier containing live charcoal. Her Majesty pulled a leaf from a large evergreen tree which had been placed there for the purpose, and threw it into the fire. We each followed her example, adding large pieces of resin, which perfumed the whole atmosphere. This ceremony was supposed to bring good luck during the coming year. The next item was making cakes or pies for the New Year's Day. On the first of the new year nobody is allowed to eat rice, these cakes taking its place. They were made of flour paste, with minced meat inside. While some of us were preparing these cakes, others were peeling lotus seeds for Her Majesty's breakfast. It was now well into the morning hours, and Her Majesty said that she was tired and would go and rest a while. She was not going to sleep, however, so we could carry on our noise as much as we liked. This we did for some time, and on visiting Her Majesty's bedroom, we found that she was fast asleep. We then all repaired to our various rooms, and commenced to make ourselves tidy for the day. As soon as Her Majesty was awake, we all proceeded to her bedroom, taking with us plates of apples, representing peace, olives, long life, lotus seeds, blessing. She suitably acknowledged these gifts, and wished us all good luck in return. She inquired whether we had been to bed, and on learning that we had been up all night, she said that was right. She herself had not meant to sleep, only to rest a little, but somehow she had not been able to keep awake, and gave us a reason that she was an old woman. We waited on her until she had finished her toilet, and then wished her a Happy New Year. We then proceeded to pay our respects to the Emperor and to the young Empress. There was nothing further to be done in the way of ceremonies, and we therefore all accompanied Her Majesty to the theatre. The performance took place on a stage erected in the courtyard, and Her Majesty closed in one part of her veranda for the use of the guests and court ladies. During the performance I began to feel very drowsy, and eventually fell fast asleep leaning against one of the pillars. I awoke rather suddenly to find that something had been dropped into my mouth, but on investigation I found it was nothing worse than a piece of candy, which I immediately proceeded to eat. On approaching Her Majesty, she asked me how I had enjoyed the candy, and told me not to sleep, but to have a good time like the rest. I never saw Her Majesty in better humor. She played with us just like a young girl, and one could hardly recognize in her the severe Empress Dowager we knew her to be. The guests also all seemed to be enjoying themselves very much. In the evening, after the theatrical performance was over, Her Majesty ordered the eunuchs to bring in their instruments and give us some music. She herself sang several songs, and we all sang at intervals. Then Her Majesty ordered the eunuchs to sing. Some were trained singers, and sang very nicely, but others could not sing at all and caused quite a lot of amusement by their efforts to please Her Majesty. The Emperor appeared to be the only one present who was not having a good time. He never smiled once. On meeting him outside, I asked him why he looked so sad, but he only answered, "A Happy New Year," in English, and smiled once, and walked away. Her Majesty rose very early next morning and proceeded to the Audience Hall to worship the God of Wealth. We all accompanied her and took part in the ceremony. During the next few days we did nothing but gamble and scramble for Her Majesty's winnings. This was all very nice in its way, but one day one of the Court ladies began to cry and accused me of stepping on her toes in the scramble. This made Her Majesty angry, and she ordered the offender to go to her room and stay there for 3 days, saying that she did not deserve to be enjoying herself if she could not stand a little thing like that. The 10th of the first moon was the birthday of the Young Empress, and we asked Her Majesty whether we would be allowed to give presents. She gave us permission to give whatever present we might wish to. However, we submitted all our presents to Her Majesty for her approval, before giving them to the Young Empress, and we had to be very discreet and not choose anything which Her Majesty might think was too good. It was very difficult to tell what to send, as Her Majesty might take a fancy to any of the presents herself, even though they might not be of much value intrinsically. In such a case, Her Majesty would tell us that she would keep it, and to give the Young Empress something else. The celebration was very similar to that of the Emperor's birthday, but not on such an elaborate scale. We presented the Ru Yi to the Young Empress and kowtowed to her. She was supposed to receive these tokens of respect sitting on her throne, but out of deference to Her Majesty (we were Her Majesty's Court ladies), she stood up. She always was very polite to us under all circumstances. On this day, as on the Emperor's birthday, the Emperor, Young Empress and Secondary wife dined together. These were the only 2 occasions when they did so, always dining separately at other times. Her Majesty sent 2 of her Court ladies to wait upon the Empress, I myself being one of them. I was very pleased, as I wanted to see for myself how they conducted themselves when together. I went into the Young Empress's room and informed her that Her Majesty had ordered us to wait upon them, to which she simply answered, "Very well." So we went to the dining room and set the table, placing the chairs into position. The meal was much different from what I had expected. Instead of being stiff and serious like Her Majesty when dining, they were quite free and easy, and we were allowed to join in the conversation and partake of some of the food and wine. A very pretty ceremony was gone through at the commencement of the meal. The Emperor and Young Empress seated themselves, and the Secondary wife filled their cups with wine and presented it to them in turn as a sign of respect, the Emperor first. When the meal was over, we returned to Her Majesty's apartment and told her that everything had passed off nicely. We knew very well that we had been sent simply to act as spies, but we had nothing interesting to tell Her Majesty. She asked if the Emperor had been very serious, and we answered, yes. The New Year celebrations terminated with the Festival of Lanterns, on the 15th day of the first moon. These lanterns were of different shapes, representing animals,